Welcome to my tutorial on importing data into SQL Server. In this tutorial, we want to discuss an interesting tool that Microsoft SQL Server has, which is called Data Transformation Services, in short DTS. So, as you can imagine, it can be a tedious job to try to insert rows into SQL Server database one row at a time. If you've got 1 million students to load into an enrollment table, you can't sit there and insert 1 million rows. Surely that can't be effective. The best way to do it is to have a file, a flat file. It can be in a CSV mode or in text mode or Excel. That is all your students and your student numbers and the course codes that they enrolled into. We can just import that file into your SQL table in one go, and all your records will be there. So once again, we go back to this enrollment table, which has 10 records. So from there to there, I've got 10 records that I have that I need to insert. So instead of inserting this one by one, I can use DTS to import from this file, this InnoUni XLS file, and insert into my SQL database. The way I do that is I come to my database name, InnoUni. I right click and go under tasks and go import data. So what import data will do is it will give you a wizard. So you see that wizard on the screen. It will walk you through how to import the data into your database. So if I click next, it will prompt me for my data source. If I click this drop down arrow here, I can go and specify that my data source is Excel. You can pick flat file or use another database as an input, but I have Excel file, so I'm going to pick Excel as my data source. In my Excel file path, I'll go and browse where my files are. So this is where my files are sitting, and my XLSX file is InnoUni. So if I go select, I'll go and select that file. Now that I've selected that file, I can go and click next. The next thing is the wizard will ask me to select my destination. I can go click the drop down arrow for my destination, and then I can go and click SQL Server Native Client 11.0, because after all, I'm inserting data into my SQL Server. I just put dot there as the server name because I'm connecting to my local host, and then I'll use SQL Server authentication. My username is SA, and then I'm going to type my password in there. If I click next, it gives me the option to copy data from one or more tables. This section will allow me to just pick which worksheet I want to pull data from, which is the easiest way to go really. Or I can go write a query to specify the data to transfer, which means I need to query Excel worksheets and write a query to pick up certain fields that I need to use. I'm not going to do that. The sources here, so I've got 3 tabs in my worksheet. So I've got courses, enrollment, and students, but I want to use enrollment. And the destination is a preset table. I've got an enrollment table that I'm going to use. But in here, you can go and type anything for a table name. You can create a new table on the fly. The file will be loaded onto this enrollment dollar table if I leave it as default. Or I can go type something descriptive like enrollment stage table, and it will populate that new table. But I'm going to use a pre-existing table, which is enrollment. So I just click the drop-down arrow. If I want to see the options or things that I can change, I just go and click Edit Mappings. In Edit Mappings, I can go and say I want to delete rows in destination table. So everything that I've loaded prior to this point will be deleted. I can go and append rows to the destination table, so it will be an add-on. I can enable identity insert. So if there was a field, like if student number was being automatically generated by my SQL table as an incremental, let's say by 1, so every new entry that I put, the student number is incremented by 1, this enable identity insert allows me to overwrite the student number field or any other field that I'm using that's being incremented by using whatever I have in the file. So it can come in really handy. And you can see the data types is defined in my table. There's int and varchar and int. So that's how the data is going to be loaded. I'll click OK here. You can also preview the data in your Excel file just to make sure you're picking up the right file and the right worksheet. I'll just click OK there. And then I'll go next. In this section, it will tell me if there are any errors that are going to arise from me trying to insert data. So these sections will turn red if there's something that's not going to load. And then down here, you can see that we've got an error, fail this package. So what this means is if there is an error that's incurred, you need to stop and fail this package. You can go and change this if you want and say ignore, so it will ignore all errors. If there is truncation, you can also fail or ignore. So truncation is basically you trying to insert a field that is larger than what's expected. So course code, for instance, expect like 10 characters, right? If I have a course code that exceeds the 10 characters in my Excel sheet and I try to load it, it will result in truncation. So I can go and say ignore the truncation, or I can go and say fail, which is the wisest thing to do. You don't want to load partial data, right? You want data integrity. So I would leave this as defaults. And then I'll click next and then finish. Once again, I'll click finish. So it has loaded 10 rows into my table. If I go into the enrollment and I refresh, so if I refresh, actually let me refresh all these tables. If I go into my enrollment table and right click and click edit top 200 rows, you will see that it has loaded the 10 rows from the Excel file. So this is how DTS actually helps and comes in handy, to load all the data from be it a text file, a CSV file, Excel, or any other database source into SQL Server, making it easier for us rather than inserting each record manually one by one. Once again, I hope this tutorial was informative and thank you for listening.